Hello, my friends. Welcome to today's edition of Talking Football Soccer. I'm your host, Nelson Vieira, and with me, as always, from Mother Island, we have André Perdigão. André, once again, thank you to be here in the comment to commentate with me this week's news. How are you? How do you feel today?
Well, I'm okay. Well, first of all, thanks to invite me again. Let's have a few hours. Well, not a few hours,
Around the hour,
spend a little bit of
30.
time talking about the latest news. Yeah, spending a little bit of time talking about the sports and the main news that we think it's quite interesting nowadays. So let's hope for the best and have a little bit of fun.
Yes, that the most important is to have a little fun. So, André, let's start with first news. So, as always, we have the same system as always. So, we will present news first. So, what we are talking about. We have 7 points that we want to talk with you today. And we truly believe that there are 7 interesting points. And let's hope that you consider the same, of course. So, to start, let's talk about NBA. We are starting with basketball today, and why? You may ask. So, if this is a football commentating program, why are you talking about basketball and most directly the NBA? That's very simple because NBA just came the news of NBA that they have this rule. Now I'm showing our source for today. This source is from Eurosport, and NBA alongside with the National Basketball Players Association reached an agreement to cut basically 25% of all players' salaries starting in the May 15. What do they mean with this? This is not just for one club or to one team or the other. It's for every team. So every team that is linked to the NBA, they will cut the salaries to their players. And why is that? Of course, for the reasons of always the coronavirus, the clubs or the teams, the basketball teams are facing some challenges, financial challenges, and so they are doing this cut to prevent a big impact not only in the league but also in the basketball in basketball teams until the league restarts, if it is restarting. Of course, that right now there is no time for restart, for NBA to restart. So what the comparison that we are doing here today with this situation is we are taking this to football. And why? We are taking this to football because, as we know, and last week we spoke about it, that for instance Barcelona decided to cut, if I'm not mistaken, till 70% of their players' salaries to pay other expenses, but Barcelona is in a very tricky situation right now. But André, to start this situation, about this, these kind of agreements that NBA done with the National Basketball Player Association. Could we bring this to football and apply between the leagues, the national leagues, or football national leagues, and their and the players' association, football players' association? Could this system be brought to football and work fine?
Well, first of all, I think for that last question, I don't think so. I don't think so, for instance, because as far as I know, I didn't research for it, but if it was able to do that, the news and the media will show up with that. Because as you can read on the news that you just pull it up about the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association reached an agreement. Well, okay, all of that thing. We keep reading that. There is actually, you can read on the second paragraph saying disclosure gives the fourth major clause gives the NBA the right to alter payment to the players if unexpected event impacts the league and prevent it from playing games. So this is the rule on the NBA. So if there is a rule, and the NBA, it's a National Basketball Association. The thing is, it's an American basketball league. The thing is, all the teams included on that competition agree with that. So they make the rules. So everything is written down there. So there is no way around it to do it differently, because this pandemic situation is actually one of the situations that it fits on that clause in there. So it makes sense in the United States. The American court, generally speaking. I don't know if they will apply it to NHL or NFL or NBA. Or the baseball National League.
The MLB, right.
Yeah, I don't know if they will apply it, but probably this kind of competitions, they have generally speaking, they have more or less the same rules. This makes sense in there. Well, if you try to bring that thing to football, and if we bring the subjects specifically to Portugal, because Portuguese, we understand more about the Portuguese football than actually the other. I mean, generally speaking, as far as I know, there is nothing written there on the Portuguese Football Federation that said all the teams on the first league or the second league or whatever have to cut the salary of the players in the case of extraordinary events that prevent the games of being played.
Right.
So as long it's not legal to do that, you can't apply that. But on the other hand, it will be not interesting, but it will be right thing to do at this point in time in order to save the teams, to save the clubs, because when we are talking about specifically, because it's a talk show about football, I think, basically football, generally speaking. It's not about in a team or in a club. It's not about the 11 players on the pitch or all the roster that you have, all the players that you have on your team. You have a lot of people in there, you have a lot of stuff inside, you have the medical team, you have the media ones, the president, and also on and on and on. The people who take care of the pitch, you have a lot of people involved there. So a club have a lot of stuff. It's not only, stuff. It's not only the players.
That's right.
Or the managers.
Right. That's right.
So it will be really, really good. In one hand, you will say, well, okay, let's cut 25% on the players. Well, okay, that's fair enough. And then the players will be shocked because it's not a rule. It's not writing down as a rule, as a stipulation or a stipulation. So the players can also step forward and say, well, I'm an employer. I work on this thing. I work. You pay me, I have a contract. So if you are cutting my contract, you should cut everybody's contract also.
Right.
So it's a little bit weird. So in the NBA, the thing was different. They actually focused only on players. You are the stars on it, you achieve money. So in this kind of circumstances, we should cut 25%. So they reached an agreement to the new that you push up. It's actually saying 25%. For me, it's good. It is good. Well, okay, I'm not saying that. A lot of guys get a lot of millions of dollars in there, but this actually opens a different subject. You have players on the NBA. They don't get that much money compared to the stars on the NBA.
Yes, sure.
So it's a little bit hard, but as long as it is a rule and all the teams agree on that because the NBA have written down, saying in the case we already read it. I can reread it again. That is a measure clause gives the NBA rights. So if it is a right, so that's it. There is nothing you can complain about it because everybody, when they are writing down this stuff.
Right.
So that's okay. NBA is different. American sport, let's say it like that. Basketball, the baseball, the ice hockey, and the football, not soccer, the football.
Right.
The American football. They have a different to see the things. It's actually a social event. It's completely different than it's not only about the money. There is a lot of stuff involved. Sponsors and all. So it makes sense when you cut. They can't cut because that's why they have that rule. So if you try to apply that thing in football, it doesn't make any sense. For instance, you just bring the subject of Barcelona cutting 70% of the salaries of the players. Well, with that stipulation, if we pick this thing from NBA and try to explain, but let's make it something really fast in here. Picture this thing: the Spanish Federation of Football said, picture this thing: they have agreement that in this particular case you have to cut 25% of the salaries of the players. Well, Barcelona just 70%. They will not agree with that anyway.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
And then you have players playing on the same league. Players from Granada, for instance, or those small teams like Mallorca or all of those teams, they get they have a really low salary if you compare to the major stars playing on the same league. So it's kind of hard to level. So as long as football, at least in Europe, because in the United States I don't know, the soccer I don't know in the United States, but in Europe there is no salary cap on sports, on the teams. For instance, the NHL every team have a salary cap. They don't care if you spend $3 million in one player. They don't care. It's your money, you can spend it. Right. The thing is, in order for you to play in the National Hockey League, you have a salary cap. So all the players that you have on the team, their salary together cannot go over this amount, this cap. So that thing makes that in the United States, or on the NBA, this thing can work because teams have a salary cap. They can go over that cap.
Right.
Or otherwise they will be, or the player can't play. So if you apply this idea to the football leagues in Europe, you will probably have, like in England, in France, in Italy, you will have maybe a competition. Because it doesn't matter if Barcelona have Messi and Arturo Vidal and all of those. Why? Because at the end of the day, then the amount of millions you want to acquire a player, but the salary you're paying to the guy, you can pay it whatever you want.
Right.
You have a salary cap, you cannot go over. So you have to deal with all the players that you have and make an account. Picture this thing. Let's make to make the example easier. It's just an example. Picture this thing. Picture that Barcelona have a salary cap of 50 million euros a year.
Right. On
salaries on players. Picture this thing. Just an example. So you have the Messi and you have all those guys all together, Piqué and all those guys. If that team, you can get around 40 million euros.
40 million.
And six or seven players.
Right.
Yeah, right. 6 or 7 players. So all your team, it's around 27, between 25, 27 or 20 players.
Right.
So the thing is, they need to choose. So those 10 million, they still have to reach the 50. They have to spread for salaries to the rest of the team. So what I'm trying to say here is it's a choice. So the salary cap, we think that I'm really into it. Because it's the true sport as it is, to level all the teams, to see the competition as it is.
Right.
So if all the teams had a salary cap, this NBA measure they did, stipulation they did, we could apply it in football in Europe. Otherwise we can't, because it's always go for the legal, because you can simply do that. You have to reach an agreement. Right. In here, on the NBA situation, they reach an agreement for cutting 25%. What's an agreement? I know a lot of players would not like that, but it's a law, it's there.
Right.
All the teams agree with that, so they can't do nothing. It's cut. So, as I am saying, it's really difficult to do that in football because it's such a massive entity. They don't allow that thing to do. In my view, it doesn't make much sense to try to apply this thing that happened in NBA in all the federations in Europe. The Portuguese, the Spanish, all of those. It's really hard because they don't have that thing write it down in there as a law and approved by law. So as long as you cannot do nothing, you will have a lot of disagreements around this subject. And I guess, if I'm not mistaken, when we start talking about Pochettino, you can see and you can make a parallel that you can understand what I'm trying to say in here. The thing is, I don't see that thing happen in football, like in Europe. United States, I don't know, like I said. But in Europe, I don't see that thing happening because the clubs, team, don't have a salary cap. So it's really hard when all the teams around, they don't have a salary cap. So not show the federation saying, well, this is our salary cap. This way you can level and try to see, well, this one have a salary cap of this one, so let's make an average in here, 25%, that's okay.
Right.
So we cannot do that in Europe because,
in
my view, mostly because of that.
Yeah, right. But of course, this is a tricky situation because we are talking about one country in specific. In this case, we spoke about the NBA, but the news could be about any other American professional sports. But first, you were talking about the laws, because there is nothing in the law that might prevent these kind of situations. When we speak about the law, could not we have something like the UEFA or FIFA trying to bring this situation to the table in a way that we could have a more fair situation to every league, in Europe or in the world? And why do I ask this? Because we also have to see that country to country the situation changes a lot. How could we manage something like NBA did in so unequal sport like football is in Europe? If we can do it, of course. If it is possible to do it.
The thing is, I guess we can. Well, we can if we can actually change paradigm, on the federations.
Okay.
That's the thing, because every federation have their own regulations. So the regulation that every federation have, like the Portuguese federation have a regulation.
Right.
The Spanish have another one, completely different.
Yes.
Because it have to fit, culturally and all that stuff. The thing is, the United States, when they on the NBA specifically, this thing that we are talking about, the regulations, it's there, it's approved. you can go in court and show this is our regulation. We have all the people around, people take decision, the President Vogels and all of those guys around. They agree with this.
Right.
So technically, it's a regulation that have, let's say, between the competition, it have power. If you try to take it to the court, it doesn't go anywhere because the regulation, everybody's agree with that.
Okay, right.
As long as we don't have that thing, this particular thing saying, well, because let's put it like this, if the Premiership have a regulation saying, in case of prevent in unexpected circumstances that the games cannot be played for an amount, and they have to say it there, which reasons. This particular case of the NBA, it's a pandemic that actually prevents the people to go to the States. It's a national health, it's a public health issue, so the games are not allowed.
Right.
So this is a regulation, it's there.
Yeah,
So
right.
the thing is, Premiership, as long as I know, I don't have that. In Portugal, we don't have that. Probably they do have it. If there is any crisis around the football games ended.
Right.
Well, they do have like that in there, but they don't have nothing saying in this kind of event, all the teams should cut 20 or 30 or whatever amount percent of the salaries of the players. So as long as you don't have that thing in there, what's happening is it's a home problem, let's say it like that.
Right.
It's an issue that every team has worked out by negotiation and talking with the players. So if they can reach an agreement, well, great. If they can't, bad.
That's done.
Because at the end of the day, they have a contract with the player.
Right.
So I understand all the players do the situation. They can say, well, okay, we can cut that thing. Okay, we are not playing, but keep paying us. So you can cut 30, 40, 50% of our income. Doesn't matter. Because we agree with that. But the thing is it's the player hopping hand of their salary and agreeing with the team, with the club, or the president, or whatever. It's not a regulation that the federation have saying, well, we are not playing, so all your salaries are cut. So this thing is, that's why sometimes it's a little bit tricky to deal, it will be a little bit tricky in here to deal with this kind of situation. Because if a player says, I don't want an open hand of my salary, I really don't want it.
Right, yeah.
Well, you can say it's a little bit dumb, it'll be selfish, yes it is, but it's on his right to say, I don't want an open hand of my salary. He can do that because there is no regulation. So he's not doing nothing illegal.
Yeah.
I don't know if that thing answers your ask, but it's just my perspective and my point of view on it.
No, it answers because of course it answers mostly because we have to see this situation when we find ourselves in a situation that is complicated like this pandemic, and we see so many people, mostly in football, not finding any kind of solution. Of course, that when we see something like the NBA is doing right now, we always have to see if there was any kind of possibility to, of course, to adapt this situation on football. Okay, but keep going on. We are now going for the second point of our talk show, and that second situation is about Pochettino. Remembering those who remember him, or some of you might not remember him any longer because he's out of football right now. So this situation, once again, our source is Eurosport, so all the credits and no, I forgot the word. But the source is the rights. That's what I think, André. The rights is of Eurosport, the news rights, and we are talking now about Pochettino. And why speaking about Pochettino? Because Tottenham did ask to Pochettino, to his former manager, to accept a pay cut, because, as you know, as everybody knows, also Tottenham, as many clubs in the race, going through this crisis and passing a little bit of financial difficulties. So Pochettino reached an agreement with the club to receive basically till the end of his contract. Instead of receiving an amount of money like a compensation, they decided, of course, it was his right to ask that, and Tottenham accepted to keep receiving his salary till the end of his contract, which is on £8.5 million a year, as we can see it here. The question is that the coronavirus is making an huge impact on the clubs, and also Tottenham is not a different example. Is also suffering for this situation, and they're also negotiating with players and also with their actual manager, Jose Mourinho, for some cuts. But till this moment, there is not news that Pochettino is accepting or not this cut. The players, as we can see, their president Levi and the board already agreed on salary reductions. That's right. But from they're still negotiating with players and with their manager. But from Pochettino, there is so far not any agreement for this situation. And André, my question for you here is, let's see, a manager is sacked, is fired during the league, and he has contract till the end of the season, in this case of the current season, and of course he's receiving his money, because the agreement was not for a compensation, but for the club to keep paying. Mr. Levi agreed to keep paying his contract at the end of the season, but the truth is that now the same president wants to cut his, let's call it, compensation, because in a certain way he's keep receiving his salary, but like we can call it a compensation, if we can call it that this way. If you were Pochettino, what would you do?
Well, once again, we are go back to the NBA. Let's start in there. Let me tell you why. I will reach the point in a minute. Because the NBA have regulations in there that can allow to cut salary of the players in a very specific moments and circumstances. I do believe the same thing can be applied to the managers also. I didn't read down all the regulations of the NBA, but I do believe so also. So to pick that subject and bring it to the Premiership, I guess there is, as far as I know, and we can see already,
right,
there is no regulations on that subject to cut, in the very specific circumstances, to cut the salaries of the players, of the members of the staff, of the manager. So that's why, and I can say that Pochettino isn't right. Well, I can place myself in his shoes. I'm out of work, so, well, that's your problem.
Right.
I had a contract until the end of the season. You waved me away. Basically, let's say you fired me.
Right, that's right.
So instead of you to pay me, to pay me what I was supposed, the indemnity that I supposed to get by being fired, we reach an agreement that you will pay me my salary until the end of the season. So this way it will be kind of easier, it work out for both sides. So this thing is, you waved me away, you fired me, and now you are on a really bad situation. You are asking me to cut the thing that you are supposed to pay me after you fired me?
Right.
Well, no. It makes sense for Pochettino to say no. I will not crucify him between marks if his answer turns out saying no. I don't want to nothing. I don't want to cut. I will not cut it. I will not. And he's actually on his legal right to do that.
Right. That's right.
Because so how much that Mourinho is being paid right now, I don't have a clue. But that's not the point. The thing is, if Tottenham,
if I'm not mistaken, I think we are talking about 50 million pounds a year, if I'm not mistaken, for Mourinho per year. He's receiving per year. 15.
50 million?
No, 15 million per year.
15.
Is receiving almost double
Well,
of Pochettino was receiving per year.
Well, okay, but still, anyway, let's check. The problem in here, it's nothing to do about Mourinho,
Right.
but it can actually work as an argument, to support fans on Pochettino if he actually decided to say no, I will not cut that, because the agreement was, well, we will fire you, we will pay you the rest of your salary until the end of the season. That's well, fine. Both sides signed a contract saying that. And once again, there is no regulations on that.
Right.
If there is any special event that prevents, you can see that happening. So that's why Pochettino can say, oh, I will have my income, I will have my salary as it should be because of our agreement. I no longer belong to Tottenham. I'm no longer employer in Tottenham.
Right.
On the other hand, Mourinho is working in there, so we have to reach an agreement with Tottenham.
Right.
Which, as far as I know, he already did. And the players also. So I don't see big deal in there. So I honestly think that Tottenham should be more ashamed for firing a manager and a very unexpected circumstance shows up and go back and look at that guy and say, well, we are going to cut your thing. Can you please allow us to cut because we don't have money to pay?
Mm-hmm.
That makes you think.
Right.
Well, what if I wasn't fired and I was there and they actually take my money anyway?
Right.
So I no longer work with you. So that's your problem.
Right.
So you don't ask someone that fire and throw him away. In the other words, saying, well, you're no longer the most wanted manager for this project, so please go away. We are going to go away. We will pay your salary until the end of the season, but please go away. They didn't even him finish the season. They threw him away. So you can't expect or be surprised that Pochettino, when he answered, saying, well, no, I will not cut.
Right.
Tottenham, the Tottenham President and all the managers in there and all the people have the power to take decisions. They shouldn't rise if the answer comes back negative, saying, no, I will not cut.
Right.
In this particular case, I will not, like I said, I will not crucify him for going after his own rights, because it's right. It's no longer about football. This now, it's about the law. The law,
Yes, law.
We are talking about an employer and employee. It's something that goes aside of football. It's related to football because it's an event happening in football, because it involves Tottenham and his ex-manager.
Right.
But on a labor perspective, they should follow that thing. and that's it. Uh, you can't put on layoff between marks. You can't put on layoff manager that you just got him fired,
Right, right.
but you still have a contract of compensation, or indemnity. You have a contract. You both parts agree.
Right.
So that's what's going to happen. If they decided to stay, that's why Tottenham asked and hope for the best that Pochettino say, well, okay.
Right.
But
Yeah,
they can't be surprised if he says no.
Yeah,
So
of
for
course.
that, I guess Pochettino, any decision that Pochettino will do, it actually increase value as a man and as a manager. Any of those situations, because if he agrees to cut. If he agrees to cut his salary due to this situation, people will look at Pochettino, look at him as a fair man and character,
Right.
a really honest, a guy you can actually see that there is hard times for everyone. Well, let me help. On the other hand, if he say no, everybody will look at him. Well, this is a guy who stands for the things he signed for.
Right.
He stands for. It doesn't move that much. It's on his right to do that. So, and in any of those situations, he already win.
Yeah.
Because he got fired, and previous team come around and ask him to cut a certain amount of the money the team to him.
Right.
So it's on the right hand. It's on the good move.
Yeah. I completely agree with you on this subject. Look, this works in every way. If you work for a work, you work right now. It doesn't matter. I'm in layoff. You're in layoff. Many people is in layoff because of these situations. But when you have other this kind of situation like Pochettino have, for instance. If you're fired and you have to receive the compensation, look, it's no longer our problem to deal with it. Is my former employer problem. So I think everything you said is just, I agree completely with it. Pochettino is in a win-win situation, but let's see what the future holds and how this situation will go on in the future. So, passing for the next topic, this is another club that this season this season has been showing signs of trembling, of shaking, in every ways. And I'm going to open right now the news about it. Our source still being Eurosport, and don't you forget, all the rights belongs to Eurosport for this news. We are just seeing from there. And we are talking right now about Arsenal. And Arsenal is a team that nowadays is far, but so far off those big great years with Mr. Wenger, 2001, 2, from 2001 to 2004, if I'm not mistaken, and it's far from those fantastic great years. Situation is going difficult because there is some news that players like Aubameyang do want to leave the club, and with him might some other players want to leave the club. It seems that situation inside the locker room is not good, and some former players like Tom Adams, former player. Sorry, he's not a former. No, he's not a former player. He's a former. I'm very sorry, I got mistake. He's a former Arsenal fan TV. Is a fan. talks about the restoration of a winning mentality for the club. I don't know when we reach a situation like this, and we see Arsenal does have conditions to reach further and have the players, but time to time seem that they are getting day by day in a hole without in a hole so deep that they cannot dig themselves out of that hole. So André, taking on this subject of Arsenal, how can a team that even recently reached the Europa League final and have a multi-million team with great players, that's impossible to deny when we speak about Aubameyang and Lacazette and Ozil and so long, and Koscielny and some others. Okay, they are now trying to bet on some players, on some from the schools, from the Arsenal schools, and of course we cannot forget about Pepe that cost around 80 million euros, if I'm not mistaken. In euros we are talking about 80 million. And when we have a situation like this, what can we say about Arsenal? What does the future holds to Arsenal? And without forget that Arsenal right now has a new manager that has a lot of experience in football, that's undeniable, but doesn't have experience enough in a club, not only in this situation, but as big as Arsenal is. What can we say about this?
Well, talking on the Arsenal subject, we need actually we need to stop and look around on my view, of course. I might be wrong, but I don't know. What did the Arsenal have done for the last 10 to 13 years? No, I mean the board.
The board.
The main board decision.
Yeah, right.
All the so the problem nowadays of Arsenal actually start showing up like 1 or 2 seasons just after 2004. They go bad and bad,
Bad decisions.
Sixth, fifth, fourth. They never. I can't remember the last time actually Arsenal is fighting for winning the Premiership.
Right.
The last thing I can't remember. So the problem actually starts on the board. It's nothing to do with the manager nowadays. I'm going to give a look at nowadays, but we need to put this a little bit on perspective. When they have that amazing trouble with Arsene Wenger, wherever, they should wave him away, and they decided to keep him there. And actually wave away the Arsene Wenger, like the guy who actually goes so high with Arsenal. I mean, we not lose the focus on the board.
Right.
The board actually allowed the manager, the Arsenal, to the very high top, and allowed this manager to go on the top, the big cliff, and look, because the Arsenal fans, if you have to ask them, they remember about Arsene Wenger, they will say, well, that's amazing that Arsenal have with Robert Pires and Dennis Bergkamp and all those guys, amazing team, great. But most recently, I will say it was probably the worst manager. He couldn't do nothing with those players. His manager and everybody couldn't handle the situation.
Right.
So the thing is, the main problem started on the board, and then they will bring Unai Emery. No, don't tell me that Unai Emery is a bad man. You cannot say a manager that won 3 times the Europa League it's a bad manager.
Right.
You can't.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
You simply can't. It doesn't make
It's almost impossible to
why
say something
why
like
did
that.
it's not by chance, it's not by chance. If you win once, well, okay, it was by chance. We can say this, well, if he won one Europa League 1 year in one season, just one season he played once, and he got lucky, all the games 1-0, and have the less strongest teams he faces on the stage groups and on and so on and so on. It was a little, well, you can say it like that. You can say it. But the guy who go there and win times doesn't make too much sense. So he have value.
Right.
He's manager. So what happened to him? Arsenal board wave him away. Now they bring this, let's call it a kid with I can remember his name. I'm trying to remember
Arteta.
the name of the manager
Mikel
now.
Arteta.
Arteta, yeah. Mikel Arteta, he wasn't the assist manager of Guardiola.
Yeah, that's right.
But as I know,
And he's a former
I guess he
player
learned
of.
a lot.
He's a former player of Arsenal. He played for some quite years in Arsenal as well. That's why he came back as a manager.
Yeah, but the thing is, you cannot say the problem is on the manager. I still think that the problem is on the board. The guys up there, because the president, the owner of the team, don't have hand on the players. So it doesn't matter which manager you bring to deal with the team, you have egos in there. I remember David Luiz, the center back from Brazil, played in Paris Saint-Germain, he plays in Portugal, in Benfica also. He said, 1 or 2 months after the Premier League starts, he said, Arsenal will never win nothing. You don't have the spirit to win. So you have a player on your own team saying this.
Right.
And then you have bigger players, the big names and whatever in there. And dealing with this, you have players that are playing. The Aubameyang is on his 3rd season, if I'm not mistaken. That's the 3rd season.
I think so.
This one, it will be the
Lacazette also 3rd season, or 4th season, something like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, you start to think, well, Arsenal paid a lot of money to these players. They are really good players. But they are starting to getting tired of the management. I'm not talking about the manager.
Not the management, the board of directors.
The club
yes.
management. Yeah, the board, no, the way they manage the entire club.
Right.
It doesn't allow the manager work with the team for the team to win anything. So it's bad decision after bad decision, and that things are players. At least it's my view. A player like Pierre Aubameyang, he knows he's a really good player. It's getting annoying to play all season and don't achieve nothing. So when these things start spreading, this bad vibe starts spreading on the locker room, and all the players start talking to each other, and they decided to leave. Why? Because these players, they know they can play in any big team.
That's right.
They can.
That's right, yeah.
And now with this situation, the coronavirus thing and whatever, the players start to think, well, I don't know how many years still Aubameyang still have as a contract with Arsenal.
Yeah, I cannot.
But
say
just
that.
picture, you have no, but let's say it. There is a player, really good player in Arsenal that have 1 year and a half of the contract.
Right.
So you will actually, well, I'm getting sick and tired of playing in Arsenal. We don't win nothing. We struggle every game just to win for 1-0 or 2-0 or 2-1. It's always a struggle. We don't play really good football because we are upset between the players. I'm not putting in here the manager. It's a bad manager. Actually, I like the way you put the team to play, but the players don't do what the manager asks to. That's really bad. So because at the end of the day, if the board have to fire someone, to manager,
That's right.
keep the players. It's too expensive to fire players. But so these players will start to think, well, we are in here for a few years, we don't get nothing. So, well, let's do everything to get out of the team. So, and then we have this coronavirus thing coming up. There is the competitions are suspended. You don't know when it's starting. And you start to think, well, but still my contract, well, competition is suspended, but the days keep going on and on and on.
Yeah, right. That's
And
right.
by the end of August, I only have 1 year of contract, which I can actually say I will not renew, I will not sign a new contract with you. I will stay in here for another 6 months, and then I can go for free in order of proposal. No, I can go for free, reaching January, and I can sign for another contract.
Yeah, right.
So, in the other hand, you have players thinking on this way in order to force the board to sell them out because they no longer want to be there. So, a really good decision to do it for me in Arsenal is actually the board steps down and say who wants to keep playing in Arsenal. If you don't want to keep playing in Arsenal, we are going to put you on a transfer list market, and whatever comes, we will go away. Right. And we'll bring the new players, the younger players, and build something from the root. The players that can come around to Arsenal and start to think, well, now I'm going there to start playing. It's not to win right now. It's to build a team.
Right.
Have a young manager with the good ideas on football. You can throw away all the players they are creating instability inside of the locker room and actually solve a big problem. But once again, for me, on my view, it actually starts on the main board. The guys who actually have the decisions to make. That starts with them. That's for me, because it doesn't make any sense. Wenger was a really good manager. Something happened there, because you don't lose knowledge.
Right.
You don't lose knowledge.
No, but you can get. You don't lose knowledge. That's true, but you can get. You can get passed away. Like you can get overpassed. Like you don't lose knowledge, but you can lose quality. That's the reality. A manager also loses quality, because when the manager sticks with the idea and the system more elder, and doesn't want to update for what's going on actually, things might start to get wrong. With Wenger happened that.
Exactly, I am understanding that, but once again, I am pointing this problem to the board.
Right.
Because it was the board that actually put out. If the board placed Arsene Wenger in there, and he made everything what he's done great with that amazing team, and then you start selling players and you don't bring in other players, you don't change the policy on training, on practicing, and all of this stuff. The acquiring players, the policy, it's kind of weird, a little bit obscure, and the manager starts falling. It was up here and it starts falling.
Right.
It doesn't matter, because the manager is doing all the efforts. We are talking about Wenger. He achieved a lot of stuff in Arsenal. So do you think that the manager reached this top once end up down here? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So the board actually helped this thing. At least this is my view. What is Lacazette anyway? Why do you spend so many millions in the player that actually doesn't make any sense?
Right.
For me? Well, you need center backs. You need center back. And instead of bringing, young center backs with quality, or even older, but that can improve.
Right, yeah,
can
make
improve
the difference.
The team. Well, you have David Luiz. Is a good center back, it is, but you don't have any more in there. If David Luiz gets injured out, you don't have any other guy to place in there. You
have
I'm just saying,
David Luiz and Koscielny. For me, is the only ones you have in the club.
Yeah.
Beside that, you have
nothing. But still, the age. Those guys are around 32, 33 years old.
They are getting old. Yeah, that's right. That's why they are getting old.
So, guys, I'm not saying they don't want to do their best. They do want to do their best. But the thing is, they don't have competition inside of the team. So, well, like it or not, I will play. Because they don't have other guy to place in there.
Right, that's right.
Now you have this going up, the Nicolas Pepe coming up. Well, okay, great. But then you start missing players. Well, what about the goalkeeper, by the way? Just saying it.
Right.
Uh, the, I can't remember the name of the goalkeeper nowadays from
Leno. It's
Arsenal.
Bernd
That's
Leno, the
weird.
German. Bernd Leno.
Yeah, the Burnley. Okay. Uh, is it possible a team that have a goalkeeper named Petr Cech, one of the greatest goalkeepers that we saw, ends his contract, you go away, and you don't have a big name as that to stay on this place?
I don't.
You found
I
it
don't
weird?
think. I don't think it's about the big name or not. Look, Bernd Leno has, and we were able to see it on Leverkusen when he was in Leverkusen, Germany. He is a very good goalkeeper. What it seems to me, and you were talking
I'm not
about,
saying that.
you were talking about something that is the reality, that is the truth, is that he doesn't seem to have good coaches for him, because it's not just about
No.
the goalkeeper quality. It's about your staff quality. It's about the board. Everything starts with the board,
Yeah.
because the board can bring good coaches to take the best of the players, and because Bernlin can become
Yeah, but-
one of the greatest goalkeepers in the world if he is trained for that. If they give conditions for him to take the best of him, of course.
But what I'm trying to say here, it's not that. I'm not saying he's a bad goalkeeper. It's not that. The thing is, what's the idea the board is giving to the all players they have to the team, saying, well, the Petr Cech and this contract is going away. And everybody knows Petr Cech. Everybody knows. The guy won almost everything when he's talking about clubs, not national teams, but
In clubs, yeah.
really good. And the message that they're sending inside is, well, this guy is going away and you are going to bring another goalkeeper. Just another goalkeeper.
Right.
You know, we are talking about the Petr Cech because it's an iconic goalkeeper. But they didn't show out saying, well, we're going to bring, Oblak
For
or
instance,
Form
yeah.
or something like that. Big names that can actually and actually can, on a moral point of view and in the motivation of the team, bring the idea. Well, actually, the board is making an effort to bring big names on the team, to keep us up, to show as an example.
Right. Right.
Nowadays, it will be a little bit hard. It will be a little bit hard for Arsenal. I'm not saying specifically with this whole situation of the coronavirus and all that stuff. The Arsenal can be allowed, the board can be allowed to bring big names to the team. Players with experience of winning.
Right.
And blend those players with inexperienced but talented young players to help them grow. So it will be really hard. It's a really difficult situation for Arsenal nowadays. I only see, I guess, the board should sit down and start to talk and see what do we want for Arsenal Football Club. What do we want? We want, keep trying this thing and that, or you want to say, well, just put this thing away, let's start from between marks for the scratch.
Right.
You want to put a lot of money, bring things, and it will be really hard to negotiate those big things to the team because it's Arsenal nowadays. It's an iconic team. It's an iconic club. Yes, it is. But the truth is, in the last 10 years, they didn't get nothing, basically.
Right.
Generally speaking.
Right.
They didn't want Premiership. They didn't want any international competitions. They reached further the competition, but they didn't want. So the players start looking, well, if I want to change team, I will go for a team that recently got something, or have a project that allows to think a little over the top and go a little bit further. Arsenal nowadays have this image of being a really, really bad spot to be because it's really hard working there.
Right.
Because every season, they pull a lot of millions to bring new players and they keep playing bad.
Right. That's right.
So it's not in my view, it's not a matter of it's a good or a bad manager, it's a good or a bad player. It's not that. The problem is the players go in there, play. They are good players. You have a really grey atmosphere around Arsenal. If you look at Arsenal playing, they don't play with fun and joy like the time on 2000, 2001, or 2000.
That's
they
right.
don't play with that joy.
That's right.
That's what that gentleman on the airport news that he pushed up. He was that he pointed news. He was saying Tom Adams wants the restoration of winning mentality. And this winning mentality, it's that players want to win and play fun. They enjoy what they are doing. They don't mind to take risks in order to bring their best to the table. Into the table on the pitch, of course.
Yeah, right.
So in here, in my view, it's actually the board. It's not doing enough to acquire or to achieve this point. Because if you have a bad management on the board, that thing will reflect down on the pitch on the players.
Right.
And it works both ways. If you have that team playing really bad, it will reflect on the board because the supporters want the board to go away, or the manager have to go away, and then we'll bring another manager and we'll see going on the same way. So eventually someone will call for the elections, bring that board away and bring someone fresh and new ideas.
Right.
So in order to avoid this thing, the board should sit down and think, well, what we have been doing wrong for the last decade? Because you cannot say that the players they have in Arsenal, they aren't good enough. They are really good. You cannot say the managers they had, they are not good, because they are and they were really good.
Right.
Miami, like I said before, 3 times winning Europa League. Not by chance. It's a good manager. Wenger won premierships and had a lot of titles with Arsenal during those 20 years. Good manager, that's it. Well, if he updates himself, that's a different story, but anyway.
Right.
But the managers are good in there. Arteta tried his ideas for football, it's really good. Right? What there is in here, it's not working. Why the players keep getting upset and demotivated, let's say it like this? It's not because actually Arteta, he put on the pitch to play the best players he have, actually the most expensive ones, by the way.
Right.
So why they keep not playing?
Yeah, right.
I guess the players are upset with something, and that something it's not Arteta.
Right, right.
But just me.
Yeah. So I think you said everything that we said everything that we could say about Arsenal. So let's wait for the next days and weeks mostly, because there's been already a few dates been talked about. Might May, some people already spoke in May or June for the Premier League to restart. We never know, but let's wait for the next weeks to see what this Arsenal situation what can happen with them. Let's passing for the next topic. We are talking about this club that is on my shirt, Newcastle United in this case. And we are talking because there's been recently, and I don't have the news for you here, but I will also show other news related to Newcastle. That is very close for a takeover, and it seems that Prince from Saudi Arabia. That's a funny situation because last week we spoke on our political program. The political program we spoke about Saudi Arabia and their policies. But Newcastle, it seems that Mr. Bin Salman, if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm not saying it wrong, it's very close for the takeover because with a consortium with Amanda Stavely, it's in England, if I'm not mistaken. And why it seems to be close? It seems to be close because the actual president, Mike Ashley, wants to rid out of the club with the pandemic situation. of course, is a businessman, and it seems to be a very, I don't know if to say, he might be a very good businessman because he's earning his money, his profits, but he's prejudicing the club very much. That's the reality. So, but and in other times he was like, imagine, he used to ask for around 400 million pounds, and in the last gasp he would raise for another 50 million or another 100 million to try to get a little bit more money. But with all this pandemic situation, he seems to want to get rid of the club as fast as he can, and we are talking now about 300 million pounds. It's without uh, with any other trick situation for the business. With that said, Newcastle, or it seems that Mr. with the possible new owner, in this case the consortium of the president or the Prince of Saudi Arabia with this English business, with the front woman being Amanda Stavely. It seems that they are already in the market, and some people is saying that Steve Bruce, the actual manager, might be replaced again for Rafael Benitez, that everybody knows in Newcastle he is loved by the fans. But also they are also going to the market, and this is the thing that I'm going to show you right now, that they are fighting with United and with Inter, yes, they are fighting with United and Inter Milan for Arturo Vidal. It's in Arturo Vidal is running out of has his contract until next year, 2021, and he's already reaching 33 years old now in May. It seems that that he might want to join Antonio Conte on Inter because he was managed by Antonio Conte before on Juventus, and it seems that in the interest of Barcelona in Lautaro Martinez might send Vidal for another place, for another club. With joining to the situation, it seems that also Newcastle is trying to go for Juan Cuadrado, also the player from Juventus. And of course, Cuadrado, in the situation that he is right now, with so many players that can do his position, and we don't know what Juventus is thinking right now in what takes about moving in the transfer market. So it might be another possible business for Newcastle if, and once again we say if, the takeover happens as they've been noticing in these latest times. So, André, with that said, with everything that we spoke right now, the takeover, the market moves that they are doing, possibility of Benitez coming to Newcastle back, Vidal and Cuadrado. What can you say about this situation?
Well, honestly, if the takeover happens, I guess it will be a relief for Newcastle supporters. Finally, we get rid of those guys.
Right. That's right.
Tyrant, let's say it. As you said, he's a businessman. He's just start noticing he's losing money, so he's going to wave away team, the club, so probably the takeover will happen. So, and if you accept, and if we accept that the takeover, it will be happening, and let's start from that. Well, the takeover happened. Well, okay. And then we have to start figuring out that now we can jump in Vidal situation. Well, there is only two ways this thing to work out. Well, that's always or Vidal goes to Newcastle or it doesn't. But let me explain you here. The thing is, the new project for Newcastle have to be really, really, really good in order for Vidal to go from Barcelona to Newcastle.
Right, that's right.
It's an historical team, historical club in the best shape, specifically on the last, let's say it on the last decade, it's a big drop. So in order to bring a guy from Barcelona, Vidal, the player as Vidal, from Barcelona to Newcastle, the project have to be really, really good. So I'm not even talking about the amount of money they will pay for it.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
talking about
Yes, sure. Right.
But Vidal should look at it and say, well, okay, if I agree, what are you going to do in your team? What kind of new players you will bring on it? Which manager? How are you going to play? What's the purpose? What's the main goals for the team? You know, it's to stay on the first 4 places, go in Europa League. You see, it's really a bit tricky. But on the other hand, you have Man United that specifically is playing really good right now since they acquired Bruno Fernandes. That team starts playing. So I guess it will fit really, really good on that team. It will fit really, really well on Man United. So we can say it right now that Newcastle, when the takeover happened, the main board of Newcastle has a big fight over Vidal. Because, correct me if I am wrong, Lautaro Martinez is not playing in Internazionale Milano at this time?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, yes.
So, if Barcelona wants Lautaro Martinez, a good way of acquiring Lautaro Martinez, if you can send him away, if you can send Arturo Vidal and use it as a currency, let's say, in order to make the transfer easier.
Right. And
we can pay for that player, but we can give the player anyway.
Yeah, and mostly because
and
Vidal already played under the commands of Conte, of Antonio Conte. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. So this will be a really, really, really odd situation. So it will be really hard. Honestly, I'm not seeing Vidal going in Newcastle. I might be wrong, and I hope I am wrong for Newcastle supporters, but I'm seeing this thing going really, really bad. Well, first of all, Italian football actually fits better the Vidal football.
Mm-hmm.
The way that Italian football is, fits a lot better on the way that Vidal plays. So, on this order of ideas, I guess that it will be really, really hard for Vidal to go in Newcastle. On the other hand, Cuadrado, it's almost there. Let's say it. If we compare to Vidal, Cuadrado going in Newcastle, it will be really, really easy because turns out it will be a star in there, which is something is not in Juventus. Just another player that plays like right defender or winger, and it's not quite as it used to be.
Right.
So, not experience for Cuadrado to go in England. But Vidal, I'm not thinking that it will be really, really, really hard. So I hope the thing turns to the best. If I have to point, if Vidal decides to go to England, he will probably go in Man United. Unless, and I never put this thing away, because I like Vidal the way he plays.
Right.
And it's the kind of player that Mourinho likes. The guy who puts everything on the pitch.
Right, that's right.
So we never know. we always have an eye in Tottenham on this
Yeah,
thing.
we have to be
I don't
careful
have,
always. We have to always talk on this
I don't
situation
have,
about Tottenham. Yeah, that's right.
I don't have any news or information about Tottenham want Vidal. I'm not saying it's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah, sure.
if he goes to England, why Tottenham don't want to try to get a guy like that for his team? Actually, because Tottenham is missing players on the midfield, so you never know. On the other hand, if he decides to go for a football that he already knows, well, no chance he will go for Internazionale Milan and play like it will be on the 11 players on the pitch every time.
Right.
They will play straight ahead, go straight to the chosen ones. Let's say it like that.
Right.
So
So
let's hope for the best,
yeah,
Newcastle. But bringing Rafa Benitez again. Well, I understand Newcastle supporters, they like him. I just see Rafa Benitez.
I don't see as a
It's no longer as
yeah, I don't see as a great bet as well. Bring Benitez back. I don't see.
I guess it's a step back.
Hmm. Right.
I can understand it's a political play, let's say it, political play, because you have new management, a new board, a new guy who acquired the club, and then you say, well, we are going to bring the manager that you already know. I'm no longer seeing Rafa Benitez as fitted to be a manager in the Premiership
Right.
nowadays.
Both. We both think that way. I don't think we have right now many managers, young managers that are doing great jobs. I must admit, I know that I don't want to change, and I hope that the Newcastle supporters, if they are listening to me right now, don't take me wrong, because I'm one of you as well. But mostly, if I have to go for a manager right now, and I'm just leaving here a name because he's not only a good manager, he's a young manager, and might do a great job in the world of football if they give them a project good enough to reach further. And that name is Julian Nagelsmann. For me, is the right manager for this project. New project with a new manager, a young manager that's doing a great job. And I think that Nagelsmann, the same way as Klopp done with Liverpool, took some years, but Nagelsmann could be that manager. I don't know what do you think about that? First, and an idea like Nagelsmann for this kind of project.
Well, if Newcastle has decided to start a project from scratch, yeah, come on. Young manager, know how to put young players to play. So why not? I don't see why not. It's actually it's a fresh air pocket in Newcastle. Put away the old timers. Put away the old timers. Bring new blood there.
Right.
Bring people that actually want to show something that I am good doing this. Those people, when they are motivated to do that,
Right.
they quit. So
Yeah.
I don't see why not. And that manager actually it might fit really good on Newcastle because you no longer have these oldie players in there.
Right.
Generally speaking, we can say it's a young team more or less. So it's players they wanted to reach different levels. So it's a good manager to bring because they expect.
Okay, so we lost.
Players already.
So we are losing some signal right now. We were losing some signal, but we are back. It seems that we are back. Do you listen me good? Yeah, okay. Because for a small fraction of moment we lost the signal with you. So, but we are back now. So you were saying, sorry, you have to repeat. You were saying.
That
Okay, so we still have some issues with signal. We are trying to.
Pointing that manager for Newcastle, it's good because
Okay. Yes, keep going, keep going.
players not that have the goals. It's not to win the Premiership.
Okay, we are having connection still. André right now is not listening to the call. We are trying to find the suitable way to restart this call. So I just want to apologize to you for this situation, and we are trying to resume the call as fast as we can. Right now connections at this point of the day sometimes can be very 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 tricky and take some quite time. So we will just do a small stoppage, and we will be back very very soon. Okay, just in a sec. So stay still, and we'll be back very very soon. Thank you. So, my friends, once again, we thank you for keep up. We have tried to be as fast as we could to solve this connection problem. So sometimes at these hours, and people are more are at home or at their cell phones and all that. So sometimes we face on this situation some connection problems, but we are keep going on with situation. André was commenting about the idea I was talking about Julian Nagelsmann and what future if the new consortium of the possible consortium that is taking over Newcastle, if it realizes, if it happens, about Nagelsmann. So André, to finish this subject, you were saying about Nagelsmann.
Well, I'm saying that actually if Newcastle bring that manager, Nagelsmann there, because it's a young manager, and I was pointing the fact that the average age players of Newcastle are not that high, so you still have a lot of young players playing around. And starting a new project from the scratch, new and young manager, good one, and a young team, and the players that they know they will not win the Premiership. They're trying to do their best, improve as the players, trying to reach higher goals. So it'd probably be a good solution for Newcastle to go for it.
Right.
No pressure the team. Try to be on the top 8 or even on the top 10 on the season, so it will be okay for them. So I guess it will be a good option for Newcastle. Let's hope the new consortium thinks about that. Right. And let's see what they come up to.
Right. I really hope that this takeover does happen and as fast as possible. Mostly because it would be the club would be able to keep some players that are already in the possibility to leave, like Saint-Maximin. Already Wolverhampton and some other clubs are already trying to take on Saint-Maximin. He's a great player. He's young. You can reach further, and Newcastle fans and the club can thank him for a good part of the season, because if Newcastle is in a situation right now of not getting relegated and fighting for a good position, we own it also to Saint-Maximin and Miguel Almiron and some players like him that are doing a good season. And passing for the next subject and staying on the Newcastle subject, we are now talking about one of the Longstaff brothers, in this case the youngest Longstaff, so Matthew Longstaff. Our source right now is a Portuguese newspaper, is a Bola, And once again, don't you forget that all the rights are of the news is from the newspaper, and this is just to say that Matthew Longstaff is the player in the Premier League with the lowest wage, with the lowest salary in the Premier League, and he decided to start giving to a fund of that helps with financially to fight against the coronavirus. Is giving 30% of his wage for this fund. The question here is that Matthew Longstaff earns per week 850 pounds, or around 975 euros, and he's giving 255 euros per week for this fund to fight coronavirus. So we have to realize that he is the lowest paid player in the Premier League. So with that said, André, when we see a player like Matthew Longstaff giving 30% of his income to a fund, and he earns he earns 850 pounds per week.
Well, we have to applaud the thing. We have to. That's a big something. Well, let's be honest. But let's put it this thing. Let's do the subject in two branches. The one is the social one. Let me tell you this thing. I made a little bit of math. This guy gets 100 euros a month. That's it. Understands the football player, okay, but on a social perspective, he gets in 1 month like 5 or 6 or 7 times more than I get 1 month.
Right. It's true.
Common people. This is one point. You ask me if I want to open my salary cut 30%, I will say not, because it's really hard for me. But the reality of the England, and now we can jump to the sport, to the football itself. You have the youngest, well, not the youngest, the guy with the lowest salary on a Premiership. He played 13 games, if I'm not mistaken. And said, well, I will donate 30% of my salary to fight coronavirus. Because we are now talking about the solidarity and whatever and all those stuff. It's a really bad time. It's really good. It's something. It's something you would expect this thing for players that get 5-6 million a year.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that you are expecting. A guy who get 200. Well, not 200, but it's kind of hard to do 200.000 with a year, a week. 200,000 or 100,000 a week. You have some players getting that and more. You would expect this kind from those players.
Right.
I think it's not happening. On the other hand, we have to think about this. It's a lovely thing that he done. We have to clap and enforce this kind of situation, yeah. But let me ask one thing. Did the Newcastle ask the player if he wants to cut his salary? I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think that Newcastle board looked to the guy 975 euros a week to cut his salary. I don't believe in that.
Right.
There is players in Newcastle money. Those players, probably Newcastle board asked those guys to cut salary, more or less lay off. So probably they didn't ask this guy, but he didn't want to stay behind on this big effort that everybody is doing right now.
Right.
So it's remarkable. A guy, I understand it's a lot of money, he still gets a lot of money. A lot more than me.
Right.
That's true. Gets a lot more money than me. But still, you have people in society doing an ordinary job, they get more money than this guy. I understand he's only 20 years old.
Right.
Okay, but he's playing on the highest level. So he should be well paid, which it isn't. So this thing actually opens a new question in here. There shouldn't be a minimal salary for the players,
Right.
professional players, shouldn't be a minimal. It's this thing the minimum? It is, because it doesn't make any sense. For me, having a player that gets less than €1,000 a week,
Right.
play on the same pitch, facing they're getting millions a year. It's not fair. So this thing we can see balance the gap is really, really big. So going back to the main topic, the attitude in here. I hope this attitude can actually give an example to the other players. Give an example to the other players, because at the end of the day they are social figures.
Yes,
Everybody
yes,
knows
social
them.
Figures, yeah. That's
So
right.
they should give back to the society. It's not only coming around and say, well, do as I do, stay at home. I think that's all the thing. We are telling people to stay at home. The government's saying that to us on a daily basis,
Right.
like
Right.
more than 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Not, not important. Being a public figure and just making videos, stay at home, stay safe wherever. The guys on a crossfire line up ahead, those are the heroes. We are not heroes. No, fuck off with the conversation. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Do as this kid does. With 20 years old, open hand of 30% of the lowest salary in Premier League, and do something good. I hope this thing opens the mind of the rest of the players, the entire Premier League, and if it's possible, to the rest of Europe and all the competitions in Europe
Right.
and all the championships, in order for them to do something good. I understand that the player got an agreement with the president. At this moment, I guess we could ask for it, but it will be asked too much. Barcelona, as we talked previously, they agreed to cut 70% of the salary of the players. Well, I'm not asking for the players of Barcelona that they already have 30% cut on their salary, that the amount they are getting, they will be paid right now. It's only the 70% of the salary.
Right.
They want to give 30% of that amount they get away. No, it's not that I'm asking.
Right.
I'm asking a different thing. I'm asking because this is a bigger problem. It's bigger than the team as is, and the club. I will be very, very comfortable if I was a player, in order for the team to come around and say, well, I will cut you 50% of the salary, or 70%. Let's face the idea that 70% as Barcelona did. I would agree with that if Barcelona said, well, we cut 70% of your salary because we have to contain, but 50% will stay on the club, the other 20% we will give for this kind of institutions to help the
Right.
COVID pandemic finish, COVID-19 finish. So it will be probably a win-win situation, because the clubs can retain some money, not spending that much to the players, and doing a public service on the other hand to help to finish the pandemic once and for all, and to restart the competition as soon as possible.
Right.
So I hope this kid actually made a statement. He actually said there is something far more important than the money at this point.
Right.
So I only hope that the big players, they start doing that. And by the way, just saying it, if the players are getting cuts on their salary, it will be a good idea for the board to have cuts too.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
There's noise coming up. I didn't read any news about this. Like the board of or the president of the club open hand for 50% of its salary in order to contain the economic crisis on the team. Have you heard that?
Nope.
I didn't.
That's right. That's right.
I didn't heard nothing like that.
That's right. That's right.
I know there is club presidents all around Europe getting 2 or 3 million a month just for managing a club, and it's the club paying their salary.
Right.
Did they open hand of their salary? They cut 30%, 40 or 50% of their own salary, or they are just cutting on the stuff between months, the players.
Right. Right.
So I hope because this industry move a lot of millions of euros around. So I hope they look at this kid, the guy, let's say the poor player on Premiership, and to give an example for the rest of the players to start doing that.
That's right.
And maybe why not? If the players agree to start having cuts on their salary, they should make this kind of agreement with the team. Well, okay, I agree if you cut 60% of my salary, but if you cut 50, those 50% that you cut that do not pay me, a part of it will go to a fund to fight this thing in order for the medical staff and all the people around to give chances to end this thing faster as possible.
Right.
That's just an idea, trademark in here. Let's see if they agree or not.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, and for those who are watching us today, let's hope that this idea reaches further and can make some difference, mostly in the world of sports right now, but also that this can stick around a little bit more and help and can give the right amount of help for the people that are on the grounds fighting against this situation. And of course that we have to praise this player for what he decided to do, because even it is the player that received less in the Premier League is doing as so many others, but it's the emphasis to be the lowest paid player, and what he's doing is very remarkable, and he deserves credit for that, no doubt about it. I don't know. Yes.
Let me tell you just one thing before we finish this subject. I would be ashamed if I were a professional football player in Premiership and getting millions every year. I would be ashamed. I wouldn't think this before this kid. I will be ashamed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I will be ashamed because I will realize I am so selfish. Because I have a professional colleague, that the least amount of money possible is the guy getting less than the others. I am getting millions, and I didn't thought about it before. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm so selfish.
Right.
So
That's
this thing turns out an example for the rest of the players, and they start thinking there is more things important in football than actually the money in life, not in football, in life. And one example, because this is new, everybody knows this thing. I don't have the news in here, but it's already on for a week or two. Like even Sadio Mane is building an hospital in his home country
Yeah.
on his all on his own money.
That's right. That's right. I heard that
You
news.
spend about
I heard about that.
so you have players with big heart and do things nobody's asking. They do things. So, well, the football moves a lot of people. It it moves countries almost, especially in England. They love football. So it's a good thing because if you are a player and it's good when you go there and everybody's clapping you and you are an idol for the supporters. So it's a good time if you want the supporters back in the stadium. It's a good time for you to start doing something in order to allow them to come back to the stadium as fast as they can.
Right.
And one of the ways is actually make yourself an example. I will open hand of my money to help, to find a cure, to prevent or to develop whatever, or help the hospitals, all those stuff. There is a lot of things they can do. And like it or not, they have a lot of money. I understand it's their job. They are being paid for that. Well, okay. So make themselves as an example for society and say, well, okay, I get a lot of money, but I will help in hand. I want this thing to finish as fast as I can, and then we can go back all to the stadium. We can play on the pitch, have the supporters up there. That's a good thing.
Right.
And that's
right.
And that was just my finish.
And that's a great interpretation of this situation. And of course, that example that you give of Sadio Mane is a great example. And let's hope that so many others can take this example and really forget a little bit the football and the rivalries situation and think about a little bit more about human life, because that's what is at stake at this moment. So and we are starting to reaching the end of our program for today, but we have here two topics that we are now talking about a little bit, and this one is about Haaland. So Haaland, the Norwegian, Erling Haaland, the Norwegian kid is in the possibility to go for Real Madrid. That's been talked about for some quite time. And it seems that Karim Benzema can be the key for Erling Haaland move to Real Madrid. Once again, our sources on Eurosport. So about this, André, what do you think about that? What can Karim Benzema be the key? So we are talking about Karim Benzema being sold to another club, and Real Madrid going get Haaland, or might be a key of trade between Dortmund and Real Madrid. What are your thoughts about this situation?
Well, the thing is, first of all, I don't see Benzema bring nothing to Dortmund, because we are talking about two players. They play in the same position. They are strikers, and there is one difference. The Haaland is a really young kid with a big future ahead, scoring a lot of goals, playing really well, but it's playing in Dortmund. On the other hand, you have Real Madrid that more or less wants to get rid of Karim Benzema. So they want to bring that player. So this is the point that, for me, I don't believe it will happen. I understand. I don't believe on the perspective of the football, because I'm not seeing Dortmund opening hand of such an amazing player,
Right.
Really young player, or just sell him and bring Benzema on during the trade. It doesn't make any sense, because Benzema it's not bringing nothing new to Dortmund. But on the other hand, I can understand this thing can happen, because honestly, if you are a football player, you have to understand you have a contract of your life. And, if they show up paying the amount of money that Dortmund is asking for the kid, which I don't know, which is the clause, of the resign clause that they have, I don't know. But if Real Madrid shows up and pay that, Dortmund can do nothing else than allow him to go away, if the player wants to go away.
Right.
And if the money is too high, it's a lifetime chance to have the contract of your life. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Real Madrid show up and pay the amount that Dortmund is asking, plus Benzema, or making the average. We paid this amount and Benzema will reach that thing, and Haaland move to Real. But on the other hand, I just think Haaland, besides the money, there is nothing you can win at this moment on Real Madrid.
Right.
Because I know Real Madrid is ahead on La Liga. Yeah, it's true, but I don't know. I know Real Madrid have a lot of good players. Even Hazard is injured. It was injured. I don't know if he's already coming back, but it doesn't matter because the competition is off. But still, I don't see Haaland being a player that Real Madrid needed this time. I guess Real Madrid have this thing. Where is the best players playing right now? Let's acquire all of them.
Right.
It used to work like this. On the other hand, is in Dortmund, this kid is quite comfortable because even Dortmund have a lot of star players in there. They don't behave as a star.
Right.
The club itself doesn't behave as a star club. It's not the Borussia, it's not a Bayern Munich. It's not a Real Madrid. It's not a Barcelona. It's not a Man City. But even the club itself, the idea it's sport as a star. We are good and whatever. No. These guys actually in Dortmund, you can actually see them playing for the fun of the play.
Right.
I really enjoyed seeing them playing because of it. They play for the shirt. They like that thing. Even you have Marco Reus, he's still playing. Never left the team.
That's right. That's a rarity.
I mean, it's a different thing. The pressure is completely different for a player playing in Dortmund than playing in Real Madrid. It's a different thing. Because honestly, if you are a Real Madrid supporter, if you are a Real Madrid player, the supporters want to be champions.
Right.
Like it or not. The Dortmund, they want to be champions, but if you can't reach be champions, the supporters will not be as sad if you compare to Real Madrid thing.
Right.
The criticism doesn't come along as much as in Real Madrid because there is a little bit of a gap between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, and those top teams. And actually, Bayern Munich have a little bit of advantage in there. So the Dortmund plays, I hope, and I do believe that actually Haaland should stay in Dortmund. But on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised that he decided to move to Real Madrid because it's about the money. It's a young kid. Right. It's a contract of his life. So you can't crucify him. Sorry about the expression again.
Of course.
You can't crucify him if the offer stands on the table and he decided to go. You can't crucify him because it is after. It's not the same thing. It's not going only after the money.
Right.
Because he could go for China or Qatar or whatever. There you have a lot of money.
Right.
But no visibility. This thing is going after the money and with the big visibility in the big team that like we used to say, a big fish in the pound.
Right.
Especially when it comes around with international competitions like Champions League. Goes after the money and being on the top. But still, I guess him will be clever to stay at least one more season in Dortmund.
Right, yeah.
At least. And we don't forgot about this thing. Dortmund just only paid 20 million euros for a player. He played 6 months in Salzburg. Well, not only 6 months, but let's put it in here in between months. In the first part of the season, he played on Salzburg. He was player with more goals scored in the Champions League.
Mm.
And Dortmund acquired the player for 20 million. 20 million euros
Right.
for a player. And turns out, the first game he played 15 minutes, 3 goals, 1 assist. So there was on the first 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 games, he had more goals than minutes of playing.
Yeah, right.
Generally speaking. So he played 15 minutes, scored 3 goals. So the amount of games.
Yeah.
So if he played 4 or 5 games, he had, I guess, it was 9 goals or something.
Yeah, it's a
It's
great
kind of
average.
crazy.
It's a great average, yeah.
Yeah. So, and he keeps scoring. He was the guy who kicked away. They played against Paris Saint-Germain, right? And they won Paris Saint-Germain, if I'm not mistaken, 2-1, and he was the guy who scored the goal.
Right, right.
So you can see. So I understand they go after the money. We can compare with the thing that happened with João Felix when Benfica sold the guy for 125 million to Atletico Madrid, and the guy doesn't score. Really hard time at the beginning, to adapt in this thing. So it's going really high, and then basically your career start to vanish during this season.
Right.
Starting more or less to vanish, The supporter is, oh, come on, you pay 125 million for a player. We want him to play. We want him to score or give goals, making assists, whatever. That's the kind of thing wasn't happening with João Felix.
Right.
Really good player, very talented, really project for the future. He had to grow a lot. But if you compare it to Haaland, the thing is, the guy just arrived, 20 million, 9 goals, 4 games. I started thinking, what's happening in here? So I guess for him, because picture this thing, if he goes to Real Madrid and he start playing and doesn't start to play in Dortmund, didn't start the same way, the criticism is coming around, and it's a lot of pressure for a young folk playing football. So yes, his best move, at least for now, is stay one more season on the Dortmund, because Benzema, I'm not seeing.
Right.
The other thing is, what I'm trying to say is, if Real Madrid shows up saying, well, we give this amount of money and Benzema, probably the Dortmund will play, well, we don't want Benzema. If you want the player, if you want Haaland, you will play, you have to pay the resigning contract that we have.
Yeah,
that's
right.
it.
Right, very good.
Because Benzema is not doing nothing here. And I guess it's not the best player for Dortmund nowadays, especially to replace Haaland. Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That's just me.
All right. Yeah, it seems about right, and that's a good thought about this situation. And so we are, as we said, we are now reaching the final. So we are just talking about. This is just a topic to relieve a little bit the tension. Let's just have a look. We are now going to Turkmenistan in mostly Middle to East Asia, and now it's one of the leagues that are resuming the championship. Their championship, despite in Central Asia, I was in East Maurice, but they're in the Central Asia. Turkmenistan is resuming their season with the fans in the stadiums, despite the coronavirus advices and the situation that's going on. So it will be the second country doing that, along Belarus, that's still letting fans attend the matches, and even after with that sentence for their president from Belarus president saying that the virus would be solved if people go to the fields and drink a little vodka. and that will be solved. So that's okay. That's a point of view. That and Belarus is the only that still do everything in a normal way. But Turkmenistan, even with the advices, are resuming their league. Even they claim not having a single case of coronavirus in the country. So, André, and to finish today's program, we are now talking a little bit about the Turkmenistan decision to resume their competition with the fans attending the with fans attending to the stadiums. What's your thoughts about this?
In one hand, well, I can say it's really good news for the football as it is. But you can always make the question: is it really safe?
Right.
That's the thing. That's really the thing. Because on the football perspective, that's really good news. You know, you can go to the stadium, players on the pitch, supporters on the stadium. You know, you have everything go together. That's how a football game should be. Football match should be. You know, supporters and players. That's it. On the football perspective, as a sport as it is, it's a good news. But still, it's a pandemic thing. And it's really tough. So the interior minister, they have saying everything is okay. We don't have any cases. There is nothing. There is nothing in here. We can keep on going. If they are 100% sure of it, well, okay, great. That's a good news. If they don't, if they are 99.9% sure, it's better not, because there is still those 1.1% possibility of the thing it's not that way as it should. So once again, they are going against the World Health Organization, you know, to prevent crowded people getting crowded, you know, a lot of people together,
Yeah,
you know, distance,
yeah.
social distance, whatever. Yeah, they are going against all the direction, the things they are saying. They are going all against it, but still, I like to believe that the government said the truth. And if they are really saying the truth, there is nothing happening in there for now, it will be good for the sport. And it will be good for the people, because this pandemic crisis is making pressure everybody all around the world. Even in Nicaragua is still playing. They're still playing in the National League anyway, in Nicaragua. So in Belarus, well, they're playing, you know, closed doors. The sports keep on going. Well, okay. As far as I know, so far so good. There is no players infected. They keep doing their thing. The league keep going on. So far so good. It might be a good example for the rest of the countries in Europe during this pandemic, and actually be able to do that, you know, to go to work. No, because this thing in Belarus can happen, and the guys keep playing on. There is no infected players. They are keep playing. So I don't see the thing. I don't see why not.
Right.
I'm not saying it can happen tomorrow. Some players showing up, you know, symptoms and things. But until now, no, everything is okay on a football perspective. And if they are doing that in the Turkmenistan, that's really good. It's a good news for sport. It means, well, the sport's still alive. People are okay. They can go to the stadium, wherever. And I do believe, even if they had a few cases in there, they will resume the league anyway and close doors. You know, they will close the doors of the stadium, no people, and keep playing anyway. So that's a good thing. So for that, a little bit of hope for sport as it is, as we like it. Starting Turkmenistan, I will hope it will reach Europe very, very soon.
Right. All right. And yeah, let's see if their decision of resuming competitions will be the best one to be taken right now. Of course, we are talking about a league like Turkmenistan that every information that we can see and receive. Not always we can receive the best information of some of this country. We do, of course, due to distance and also due to sometimes lack of good information. But we hope that we believe that if they say they have no cases and they can resume their competitions, that everything can be done for the better good of everyone. So. With that said, from Turkmenistan we finish today's program. As always, don't you forget to leave your comments and questions during the show, and we'll be here during the next week to answer them. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. And from André Perdigão, thank you once again. Thank you very much to be here in today's program. And I'm Nelson Almeida. I will see you here on next week. I hope you're fine, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.